Hello, my name is Dennis as my crime. It's also my punishment, and it is another Voarcel Developer Diary. For those of you who've not seen the previous ones, what I have been working on is I'm developing a tabletop setting, currently using 5th edition rules for D&D, for my homebrew world of Voarcel. It's kind of a dark fantasy, eldritch adventure setting. This is more the when it actually loads. There we go. This is the general area that I'm working with at the moment. Initially, a year or so ago, when I started work on this, I was heavily inspired by the Explorer's Guide to Wildmounts, and I was planning a book sort of similar in size to that. The crux, this area here, is the main portion of the book that I was working on. It's currently split into 4 sections: the Wildlands up here, the Union, the Coalition, and the Fortunes. As I was starting to work on some of the key settlements and everything, I realized that I probably should add a little more detail to some of them. So I started focusing on the Coalition. The Coalition, out of the 4 main parts of the continent, that's broken down into 10-ish different kingdoms, as you can see here. And each of these have their own particular cities and settlements and all that. I started off with Lilith, this one to the far west. However, as I was working on it, things got I got a little carried away. And you see here some of these pins and some of the information here. Each of these is a city unto itself, each with its own NPCs and everything. And it just got a little bit much. So I decided, instead of just focusing on trying to do the entire continent, which would be madness, basically, I decided the first book would be focused just on the Coalition. So I've been slowly working on that, and the past few developer videos I've actually been going into a little bit of detail about what my ambitions were, what I wanted to try and get done. I've already got Lilith finished, as you've seen here. I've also been working on Argyros and Oriana, and I had hoped to have all 3 of these available to explore for patrons over on lunarblazestudio.com/Patreon, or is it patreon.com/lunarblazestudios? There we go. It's one or the other. It's at the bottom of the screen. But here is the issue. By the amount of work that this is taking is this is a big project, as you can see, and I, being a one-person studio at the moment, I've kind of really bitten off way more than I can chew. Realistically, this is definitely an undertaking that it ain't probably going to be finished for this year. So this is definitely a thing that is gonna be taking some time. So what I basically have 2 options. I can either continue working on this and basically try to get a large book out by the end of the year, or I can actually be taking a little bit longer, taking some breaks from this and focusing on much smaller content that I can actually use to get people interested in this much wider thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to zoom out a little bit more, and we are going to head all the way over here to the eastern side of the Forgelands. This is a place known as the Spectral Coast. Now, this is a section that I've already done a fair bit of, because, as we see here, boop, 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 We have the city of Kazvelgrim. For those of you who've been watching on twitch.tv/JourneysPlays, over the past 2 years or so, I've actually been running a group through an adventure that I wrote about 2-3 years ago. A little story called Welcome to the Grim. Now, this is some of the original artwork that I had for the adventure when I first wrote it. This was my very first self-published adventure involving undead, rat folk who are called the Voarcel, a dwarven city that kind of half of it fell into a sinkhole, and the different factions and different communities that have sprung up around the city and how they kind of interact with each other. Came with a bunch of information about all the different, like some of the different religions, some of the different groups. And this stuff here is the actual adventure that I wrote. These super basic maps from way back in the day, some of the NPC portraits and everything. I was going for a kind of old school, almost like an OSR type, illustration style. Also considering the fact that I was planning on having all of these be print books, so of course, you when it comes to print, you want it to be black and white and it to be cheap and all that kind of thing. However, after about 2 years or so of me learning how to actually play this game and all that, there are many things in these adventures that I would like to change. Also over here, this was the second half that continued on. At this point in time, over on the Jonas Plays Twitch and YouTube, we are currently close to completing the adventure that I wrote so long ago. The second book was all about the free undead, basically kind of revenants, kind of more inspired by the Discworld type of undead, basically still people that just haven't gone anywhere. And this was a whole section on the Voarcel, who they are as a people, what their kind of culture is, how they interact with the world and everything. And this was the second half of the story, called Pact of the Rat. Now, we as a team have nearly finished. Oh wow, these early maps are so bad. Like I say, some of the artwork I was fairly pleased with. Some of it, on the other hand, it's just like, oof, no. What you see here, this was a location known as the Fabrider Estate. There was an NPC here who had very important information in regards to what had been going on with the plot. There was basically there were a couple of clues that you needed to pick up from this location, and so I kind of mapped out the entire floor plan. I was actually really inspired by the Hitman games in a way, because you are essentially tasked by this undead tiefling woman, Christina Forbrider. You have been tasked with taking vengeance on her two living relatives, her brother and sister. One of them killed her. She doesn't know which, so best safe than sorry. Get rid of both of them, and if you do that, then she's going to help you in regards to the ongoing plot line. And there's also a couple of other items around here that kind of tie into what's going on, but we won't get into that too much. These are the two siblings, Elizabeth and Eric. So I'm fairly pleased with how this was put together at the time. However, there's a lot of things I would absolutely change. Having actually run the adventure now with a group, there are definitely things that need adjusting, need tweaking, need polishing. Because this was my very first adventure. This was something that I'd written back when I was still learning how 5th edition worked. So there are one or two things that could have been done easier, could have been done more smoothly, and there are definitely holes in the adventure that I did not consider back when I was first creating it. So I just want to compare and contrast. This is the Fabrider Mansion as I created it back then. This is the Fabrider Mansion as I created it for our game. And as you can see, there's a subtle difference, I think. The quality has somewhat improved. And just jumping back and forward between some of the examples. This was, I think you already saw it previously, but for this second half, most of the story takes place in Cusvel Grim, and also like the Fabrider Estate, which is just over here. But I actually had some ideas for what would be going on in the wider area of the Forgelands, or rather the Spectral Coast, which is the side of the Forgelands that most, decent dwarven folk don't bother going near. So that's what the old map was like, and this is the new version. As you can see, all the same information, all like same scale and everything, but obviously infinitely more interesting to look at. Far more work has been put into the visuals. So it is my intention to take these two adventures and remaster them from scratch. I don't really plan on doing a, just like copy and pasting a lot of the information. This, I think, for the most part, might in most cases be a complete rewrite, which in and of itself is going to take me a little bit of time. Each one of these documents was about 40 pages. Yeah, the first one was 40 pages. This one was 36. Oh, so I got better. But yeah, I fully intend on rewriting these, having everything basically up. And what I'm trying to do, apologies for the rambling nature of this video, is sort of like trying to do it all in one take. What I'm hoping to do is because these have been on sale for a while over on DriveThruRPG, and I have made a fair few sales over the years, and I really do appreciate all the people who've picked it up in the past. My intention, however, is not to make brand new things and then just like resell it, as a separate document or something. I'm updating all these old files, so anyone who's already bought the zine, you already get the update for free, because I just don't like the idea of making someone pay for the same thing twice. That just doesn't sit right with me personally. Even though this is going to be a lot of work, this is going to be this is going to be a complete retooling for the most part. But yeah, things like this, like all the information on, all the different parts of the wider area, I think very little of this is going to change. I'm definitely going to go over it with a fine-tooth comb, and stuff that has been adjusted over the past 2 years of world building and, some of the stuff that my players have developed. Because of course the players themselves in the game have contributed to the world as well. The lore has changed slightly, and I do think it is important that you as a DM are open to listening to what your players are interested in, and working accordingly with that. Because it's a collaborative story building exercise is what D&D is, in my opinion anyway. So I'm also going to have a couple of like sidebars where the players, I actually have some stories. Okay, this is how it is as written. However, in the game that we ran, this happened. Like playtest notes. To give you an example of like some of like the left field thinking, and some of the unexpected stuff that could happen, and how to maybe adjust and adapt on the fly to that. But that's pretty much it for the most part. That is my goal for the next couple of months. I think that by the end of February, I should have at least a first draft of the revamped version, and all of that is going to be for Patreons, of course. While I'm not working on the Coalition setting guide right now, the remastered adventures and everything, all of this is going to be on the Lunar Blaze Patreon. Just head over there, and again, I did actually slash the amount required to view all the work in progress stuff by 50%. So for just like $5 a month, you're going to be able to see all this work in progress stuff as it is being done live, pretty much. So head over there. Every single penny is really going to freaking help. And this is the important part. Anybody who is a Patreon contributor of the world building tier, at the moment it's $5 a month, you are going to get a free PDF copy of the finished thing when it comes out. So absolutely, the Patreon is hopefully what's going to really help keep our heads above water while we're developing these smaller projects. And hopefully, once it's finished, this remastered version is going to kickstart more interest, and so more people are going to be able to check out the project, and we're going to be able to get back to work on the Coalition book. And in the meantime, maybe a couple of other racial books as well, because we did work on let me just bring it up. I was prepared for this. Oh no, I wasn't. Okay, so we have as well here the Grendel. This was the race that I posted on DriveThruRPG recently. So they're the half troll race. And this was a fairly good example of a more full color, PDF and everything, less invested with trying to make something that's, shall we say, safe for print. Although I am going to be including, very simplified text document versions as well with the purchase. So anybody who's got visual disabilities and all this, that and the other, it's more accessible for a wider bunch of people. But that's pretty much it. So that is what we're going to be working on over here on Patreon for a while. If you've been interested in this, absolutely feel free to get in touch with suggestions. Signal boosting is absolutely going to help. This video, again, this particular developer diary is going to be free. I mean, I don't know, maybe all the developer diaries will be free. I'm not sure at this point, but I do know for certain the actual work in progress content is not. But yeah, I think these developer diaries, these videos, they probably should be free, so people who are interested can share them. Anybody who's interested can check them out, and because at the end of the day, what we want is more people invested in the world, in the story, and in the project overall. So that's pretty much it. Thank you all for indulging me for this meandering, rambling mess. And yeah, I will confirm this right now. The Coalition book will be done one day. I'm serious. It will be done one day. It is just, at this point in time, there just ain't enough hours in the day. I would need to basically be paid full time just doing this in order to be able to work on, the full setting guide, because this is how insane I am. Again, this all started because I wanted to try and get the continent down, but it was a bit too much. I'm working on the coalition. Once that's finished, we've got the Forge Lands, we've got the Union, we've got the Wildlands, then Taikanai, Feyheart, Chakram, all that jazz. And then, got this down here. We zoom out again. When I say I've got the world of Voarcel, I'm not joking. So, I'm going to be doing this for a long, long time. So in the meantime, I'm absolutely fine and dandy with working on a couple of smaller bits and pieces. Probably best for my own sanity, if I'm honest. So thank you all for watching. Be safe, be well, and chat to you all again soon. Bye bye.